to people who are being, I guess, a lot more superficial. You know, I want this house, I want this car, I want this whatever. And he calls that sorcery. And I definitely see that. But once in a while, I think that's okay. I spend a lot of time in creative play. I spend a lot of time in spirit, and quite a bit of time in nature, you know, just sitting in my backyard and looking at all my growing sprouts. And by the way, the leaves are huge now. It's immense, and I'm so happy. And I was telling all my vegetables and this morning how proud I was of them because they're growing so beautifully. But once in a while, you know, I want to get something, because once in a while buying something makes me feel good, makes me feel excited. And it's not that consumer thing, but you know, if I get a new video game, you know, because I'm a video I'm a gamer, but I'm not a gamer. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't have like a whole setup or anything, but like I play like Sims 3 and like World of Warcraft and stuff. But so for anyone who plays Warcraft, if you're I should put up this information. I would love to play with you. If you're on the Amon Thul realm, I would love to play with you. That's where I am. That's where like all my characters are. So anyway, but that's my point. You know, we sometimes we want these physical things, you know, and for someone like me who maybe like 85% of my life is basically, you know, painting and singing, creating and doing the show and hanging with a friend. And I don't just hang with friends and like talk about, well, what I would deem not meaningful stuff. We talk about very deep, meaningful stuff, you know, like galactic, universal, you know, history, like our false history and where we really came from, you know, and things of that nature. So, and I don't tend to just sit there and talk about like my favorite shows or anything else like that. Although that does come up, but for the most part with my close relationships, I tend to talk about very deep stuff. So what was I saying? Oh my God. I've literally gone off in a million threads here, and I hope that you are all very accepting of this episode. So that taught me, that relationship has taught me a lot, and I will be forever grateful to this person. I will be forever in love with this person. I love this person, and I wish this person absolutely all the best. And it did blow up into a huge, nasty cat fight, not physical, but word fight. And but I still very much respect this person. And she taught me a lot. She taught me a great deal, and I will take that away with me. And I think that's all that you need to do, you know. So acceptance. I've come to that place in my life where I'm trying neutrality. You know, I am trying to accept, and it is a practice. It is literally a practice. It's amazing. The results that you can see, and it's amazing the time that it takes. I have another friend, a girlfriend who she has done certain things that I don't agree with. You know, she believes in sunscreen, and you know that we talked about that last class. We talked about that last show. And she gives her child formula and things like that. And I'm just like, oh God, what are you doing? That stuff's poison. But it's getting easier and easier because my whole life, as you can see, it's been very hard for me to relate to people. You know, when I was quote unquote smarter than everybody, that was what that was. And then doing music, which has now been a great part of my life. I've been doing it professionally for 19 years. You know, that separated me also, and made it very hard for others to accept me. And in the long run, it made it harder for me to accept others, if that makes sense. And then now we come into who I am now. And in the it was about almost 3 years ago that I had my mega awakening, that it was suddenly spelled out for me that the government is not there to help you. The religions were just there to control. Same with the de-education system. You know, doctors only prescribe poisons, you know, the vaccinations, flu shots. Oh my God, the list is unbelievable. Industry, you know, and you know, it's really, really incredible. So I had my mega awakening almost 3 years ago. And at that point, I don't know how I found Project Camelot, but somehow I found it. Divine intervention, it was synchronous because I was ready. You find it when you're ready. And that goes for anything, life. And I literally watched every single video that they had up. And since I have seen every single Project Camelot video, and I believe I've listened to every single MP3. I haven't read every single article because they've had a few interviews that were just written. But maybe someday I'll go through the archives and read all that because it's very interesting. So I learned a great deal. I learned who so many people were. I learned about David Wilcock and David Icke and Freeman and Dolores Cannon and God, anybody I've mentioned on the show before. And the research that they were doing, and it so coincided with my own logic, it coincided with my own intuition, and it coincided with my own experience. So much of this stuff. And I realized that my whole life has really been a path, of learning and discerning, or learning by discerning. And when you have your mega awakening and you literally start researching hours and hours and hours every day, and I was watching, 4-hour videos every single day. And I realized I have more of the time for this because I don't do the 9-to-5 wage slave thing. And I any work that I do is at home. I realize I have more of the time for this, but the mega awakening has been incredible for me. And everything, it's all so tied together. So going through that and realizing all of these things and delving so deeply into what is called the rabbit hole in these circles, it was just immense what I came away with. And then to have it really did help me to start to reflect upon myself and to reflect upon the relationships in my life. And then what started happening was, because of what I was learning, I started seeing how many people around me that I've been close to for a long time are so indoctrinated and are so confined and have conformed themselves to the sick system. And so because I find that incredibly negative, I started to push all these people out. I started to weed them out because there was no way for me to relate to them. I had my mega awakening and they were still stuck going to the doctor for shots and vaccinating their children and oh my God, and believing in the political system that their vote actually counts. Sorry, but it doesn't. And many whistleblowers have talked about this. There's nothing but evidence that supports your vote doesn't count. It's just a smoke screen for them to put in the guy that they really want. And buying into the de-education system, it was amazing. I had a friend at one point who I do really care about, and I care about her family and I care about her life, and I want everything awesome for her. But I had her at one point asking me, this is like a year and a half ago or something, and it's rare that we hang out. It's maybe once every 7 or 8 months that we'll actually get together, and we live 8 blocks from each other. But that's how little we relate. She was talking about receiving something in her banking account and said to me, "Did you get it?" And I was like, "No, I don't have a bank. I'm not in the bank. I don't put my money in the bank." And I haven't for years. And she said, "Oh, we're going to have to get you a bank account." And I was like, "Yeah, that's never going to happen." Because yet again, with someone trying to make me conform to the sick system. No, thank you. So that was something, of course, that separated us quite a bit more and what's amazing too is as an aside on that note, I've also, I've had a few friends since then, who knew that I didn't have a bank account and they were in awe of it. And they said, "Oh man, I wish I didn't have to have a bank account, but where I work, my slave wagery there, they just put the money directly into my account, blah, blah, blah. Makes it easier." And, well, that's how they get you, right? So I try to stay as far away as possible from the system. And sometimes I get sucked in a little bit to the system, and I don't think that's a big deal. But it's when you're in it all the time and you have been brainwashed by it. People like me, not in any way to say I am smarter, better, wiser, better looking. Not in any way to say that I am better than anybody else who is completely 100% into the system. But being someone who is an outsider to the system, I can really see the brainwashing and the mind control that has happened with the human race. And it is incredible, my friends. It is unbelievable. But for the most people listening, I think you get it. I think that's what keeps you coming back to this show, and to other shows that talk about the same kinds of things, because you realize that there is, well, I was saying earlier, there are two paradigms happening, and I didn't even finish what I was saying. There are two paradigms living alongside each other right now. And this is what's creating so much of a clash. You have the old world order who are trying to create the new world order. You know, you have the monarchy, you have the governments and the religions, and the Illuminati and the Freemasons, and anybody who is possibly above them. And then you have the other side, the peace, unity, love, light guys, which is my own little, I use it all the time. I started using that a couple years ago, and I thought peace, unity, love, and light. That spells pull. Okay, I grant you pull in your life, you know, because we are magnets, you know, we are attractors, or repellers, depending upon, you know, the energy that we put out. And so I started saying that to people, you know, on forums and stuff. And I'm pretty proud that I came up with that. You know, I grant you pull in your life, peace, unity, love, and light. So we have those two paradigms. You know, we have the ones that are realizing that this is all an illusion. This is a holographic universe. And everything that we say and everything that we do creates an energetic signature, and it creates the physical world to manifest around us. We really are living on an earth created. And you see why I picked that name, because we are living on an earth created, and every moment we are creating the earth in the way that she is going to go. And so we have these two paradigms side by side. And when we talk about acceptance, I knew this was going to be a heavy topic. I'm already at 56 minutes, you know. I'm trying very hard to be neutral, and because I did see for a long time that I was pushing out people because I don't relate, and I still have a bit of that wall up, because that is really hard. It is really hard to hang out with a friend who is very, very indoctrinated and mind controlled into the system, and you see what's happening. You see it from a very different perspective, a very different angle. And when you try to help this person, they either aren't interested, or they just shrug things off, you know, as conspiracy, which I think we covered a couple episodes ago. Conspiracy theory is nothing more, like, people forget what conspiracy means. Conspiracy is nothing more than a group of people or a couple of people behind closed doors making plans in secret. That really is all it is. And our government does it all the time. I mean, look at Bilderberg meetings, right? So, well, I use the term our government very loosely, because it's not my government as far as I'm concerned. I am my government. So that's really difficult. Again, just like I had when I was in high school, where I was going from one world that was all mature and creative and playful and music, you know, one of the main reasons I'm here. And then going back to the other world where people are talking about classes that I don't care about, and shows that I don't care about, and being immature about things, the drama, the cliques, you know, the separation that goes on, you know. Really what it came down to is when I was in the studio, we were a community. Everybody got together. You know, you had the lyricist, who was me, you know, but sometimes one of the guys there would write something with me, you know, or we would just mess around and like, you know, jam for a couple minutes or something, you know, and just be really goofy. And, you know, there was community there. That's what's so amazing. We didn't have cliques in the studio. You don't have cliques in the studio. You know, it's just you, it's the engineer, it's the producer, unless you're the producer, which I produce everything now. You are, you know, you have the writer, you have the friends who have come to see the experience, who've never been to a studio before, or just enjoy being in a studio, you know, and it really creates this little beautiful bubble, this community. And then you go back to this place where everybody has separated themselves. You have the jocks, the cheerleaders, you have the nerds, you have the oh my God, and then different kinds of nerds, right? The science nerds, the math nerds, the chess nerds, the blah blah nerds, the this nerds, you know, and then you have the weird kids or the emo kids, or like, you know, all of this separation happens, and you feel that energy in high school. I know that you must have